There's a tiny problem with TypeScript arrays by default. Indexing is unsafe. Let me show you. Let's say you're fetching a list of users like so. We have a user type with a few properties, and we have a fetchUsers function that, let's pretend, actually fetches a list of users. After that, you want to access the ID of the first user. By default, TypeScript will say, all good, no problem. But what happens if for some reason that query returns an empty array? Well, you're gonna get the good old can access a property if undefined. I don't think anyone likes that. But compiler options to the rescue once more. There's a property called noUncheckedIndexedAccess that errors if you try to do something like that. After that is turned on, now TypeScript complains. It's telling us, hey, first user is possibly undefined, you should probably handle it somehow. There's two ways to fix this. You can either throw before using the first user, or use optional chaining before you try to access the ID. Both work, and it kind of depends what you want to do and what's the best way to handle it for you. Now that that case is covered, this sort of interferes with literal arrays and tuples if they aren't defined correctly. Let's say we have an array with two user roles, and we for sure know they exist. If we try to access the ID on the first one, TypeScript will also now complain here saying user role is possibly undefined, although we know it exists and it's defined in the array. Thankfully, there's a simple fix for that. Actually, well, there's two fixes for that. The first one is you can just add as_const to the end of the array, and TypeScript will infer its type as a literal type, and now it's gonna know we have two items in the array. And if we try to access the first one and access the ID on the first one, it's gonna tell us all good. And the second one is to define the user role type and set the roles type explicitly as a tuple of roles. And also now TypeScript won't complain. And that's it. It's a pretty simple one to implement and provides a fair bit more safety in my opinion. I would even say this should be turned on by default. Try to turn this on in your codebase and let me know in the comments below if it got any potential problems.